give y'all some time to get in here. Hey, whoever just came in. Hey, Rocky. You doing okay, bub? Oh, heck yeah, that's what's up. My son used to watch it a lot. You been busy today? Hey, sis. Yeah, I'm trying, Rocky. You doing all right, Angie? How's Jacob? Hey, Nova. Everybody's doing all right tonight. Sorry if you hear my pup in the background whining. He's mad at me. Give me just a second. I'm making it, sis. Trying to, anyway. Oh, I bet she's adorable, Rocky. I don't really have fish. I have water turtles, and then I have eastern box turtles, and I have 2 big fur babies. Yeah, that's all we can do, Angie says. Do they send their mail back whenever they're on lockdown, sis? Because I got his card back. I'm gonna try to resend it out tomorrow, though. Yeah, he's mad because I put him in the kennel because he was wanting to jump all over me and act a fool. Let's see, let me find the page I need to start this on. Let's see here. I was supposed to wait to see if somebody else, if any more showed up, but I ain't gonna make y'all wait all night either. This is the first disposition that they done. It was on April 24th of 2023. The medical staff at the jail. I'm not gonna try not to put her name out there if I can. I guarantee it, Rocky. Shoot, it's hard with 2 people, you know, trying to raise kids and do everything else, much less just one. Hey, Glamis sis, love you. Thank you guys for coming. Well, we lost one. But anyways, okay, let's see. Let me see where I need to start at here. Okay, we'll just start down here where they're asking. My attorney asked the nurse, said, the person that we're here to discuss today is actually came in. He had been previously on multiple occasions, but the time period that we're going to focus on is on December 30th of 2019. You were you were here during that time frame. Were you here during that time frame? And she answers, I was working here, yes. I don't know if I was here during the time that he was brought in. And my attorney states his name and everything, and said he was there until January. Says, I don't think it was mid-January, maybe around January 12th or the 13th. He was actually may have been transported out before then. Do you recall him? She said no. And then they asked, hey, have you done anything to prepare for today? She said, I looked at the chart to see what interactions I had with him, if any at all. And the only thing I seen was I called for the hospital status updates. And then, let's see, let's go on down through here. Can you tell me when a new inmate comes in, with a history of addiction or drug use, what the protocol is? And she just says there's a screen booking whenever they come in for initial intake. And then if they show, or say that they have drug use, they'll put them in a detox pod or whatever. Let's see. And then it asks who is responsible for doing the intake screenings? Was that Prime Care that did the intake? And she said yes. And they say that any LPN, EMA, or anyone can do the intakes. I was trying to find where they was. Let's see. Okay, it says here, so if they refuse to do a drug screen and they don't provide their drug or current usage, do you just put them in general population? And they said, yeah, unless they was to exhibit any kind of distress or something, or elevated pulse or whatever. Okay, here's where they're asking if there's a way for them to go back and look where they can go to see where they had been previously incarcerated or whatever, to see if they'd had any drug use or been in in the detox pods or whatever. And they said yes, they can go back and review it. But see, the PA there said or the physician through Prime Care said he didn't know how to use the system. And here she asked, okay, so you would have, so what, whoever's doing the intake in the jail or whatever, would go back and look at that information. She said they do, yes. Now in the left hand side, it'll have their blood pressure, if it's high, if they have hepatitis C, all that. There's so many daggone little writings in between these. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so when a drug screen like this, because he, it seems to be uppers correct. I guess that's whenever they done his drug screen. Let's see. Oh, that must be on the other page. But anyway, it says, and she said yeah, and it says, but he's got THC and fentanyl. So what's that? Does it that will trigger you all to do like a opiate detox? And she said, he would have to go to the detox pod, where they didn't put him in the detox pod. They put him in general pop. And if somebody's on the detox pod, what does that mean for their as far as how often somebody has to be medically evaluated or being seen? And she said it's generated to do a detox check every shift. So they're only required to check a patient for every shift change. They don't have to do it in between. Hey, Chrissy, hon. Hey, Brandon. Sorry, I've got behind on the comments. And, well, yeah, because Brandon, whenever he went in, the lieutenant and the sergeant there told me that he came in complaining with pain in his ribs and trouble breathing. So he shouldn't even been accepted into the facility. They should have sent him straight out to medical and said, told him that he wasn't, they wasn't capable to treat him there medically. Yeah, they have their own, whenever they were took down to medical, at least up here, oh, excuse me, they have their own little medical section that's all sectioned off and got its own little cells. Okay, so being under the influence of drugs isn't significant to be on watch. Somebody can determine. It doesn't matter that you just lit up positive for 4 different drugs. They don't feel like you need to be on watch. And she said, just if they took the drug screen and you test positive, then you should automatically be be flagged to go to the medical detox pod. But they can deny it. Mm, let's see. Okay, so do you have? Okay, she's just asking if she has certain days off or whatever. Um, okay, then she asks here, okay, have you reviewed Mr. Perry's medical chart? And she said, I looked for the name and I didn't review like anything else. I looked for my name to see if I was involved because I didn't remember him at all. And she said, okay, when you were looking at it, what did you look at, and do you remember ever seeing where Dr. Rashad had seen the patient? She said, I do believe under documents. I was looking to see if I scanned anything in. And she says, you believe you saw what? Dr. Rashad's notes? She said, okay. And then that's how we scan those in or whatever. Okay, here she says, so every time you see a patient, is it a fresh screen? Does it, show his what his blood pressure and everything was, his reports prior to you screening him? And she says, if you're under the vitals tab, yes. Okay, so okay, and she says, can you select just to input those same vitals for the time? What do you mean? And she said, instead of doing a new set of vitals, can you just basically repeat the ones that you had done on him prior? And she says, no. And, let's see. Is it possible for somebody to could go in and put in, just a different set of vitals instead of doing their own set of vitals and into the system? And of course they objected or whatever. And she says it's a blank form, so you can put whatever numbers you want to put into the form. So they could put down whatever. They don't have to do your vitals or nothing. They can just go in and type in whatever they want to type in. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna go back here and check a couple of comments. Hey, Tommy. Hey, Plug. No, they after he left the intake, they put him in Gen Pop. No, they're not. The medical staff that's contracted through the jail, they're worthless. My son never been seen the doctor whenever he was there, or a PA. They never came in and seen him or nothing. The nurses would call and they would give him, tell him his symptoms and everything that was going on, and then they'd give him instructions on what to do or whatever. But other than that, he never seen the PA or a doctor. Let's see. We might just go over Roxanne's here in a little bit, or after this, because hers is more in depth, I think, than this one. Let's see. Okay, she was asking here that if so at the end of the shift, would you sit down and put all your reports in or whatever? And she said, yeah, right whenever we came back. And she said, so you would go out on one unit and how many units are here? And she says, we have A, B, and C. And she, okay, so so would you do like all your rounds on one unit and then come back in and do your reports, or would you stay out and do all your units? She says, Well, we have booking 2 in medical. Uh, she said, yeah, we would go down and do B, C, and A, and then if we needed to go to booking, we would do booking, and then come back in and sit down at the computer and put all the reports in. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much how they do all the medical stuff. You don't go by what they tell you to go by, not what by what you're supposed to do, you know, but by what they're telling you you can and cannot do. They're only allowed to do what the facility will allow them to do. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get. Let's see. I'm gonna go over Roxana's because hers is the one that I think they question her more, and yet, yeah, it really is, Angie. And they don't give a shit. They just treat you like you're just a big piece of trash. Okay, yeah. This is her best one, I think this is. Um, I'm trying just to get to the part where they start talking about him. Let's see. Mm, okay, she's asking here if if he needed if if the doctor needed, they're talking about the doctor now, if he needed to get in to look at his medical records, was there a way for him to do it? And she says, yeah. But he claims that he don't know how to work the system, the medical system in the computer. She's asking here. She says, uh, now Mr. Perry's chart is in front of you. Do you have any memory of Mr. Perry? And she says, yes. What can you tell me about it? I remember seeing Mr. Perry down the hall when I was doing detox checks in the morning. And I actually saw him, did vital signs on him, spoke with him, requested to take him to medical, and then I saw him in the evening when I came back to the medical section. And as my notes show, I was with him for what would definitely be an extended period of time at the jail. He was young, thin, and tall to me, but not excessively tall. Just young, and childlike, and just his appearance. Um, what kind of shape? She's asking. What kind of shape was he in the morning that you saw him? And she says he was in bad shape. He needed to be seen by someone. He needed to be seen by the physician since the physician was in the facility um, that day. And had the physician not been in the facility, then I would have initiated a call to whoever was on call, and that means the person needed, and that just means that he needed more attention. Once he got sent up to medical unit that morning, you didn't see him until that evening? Is that correct? And she says yes. Were you aware of what treatment was given to him while he was on the given to him while he was on the medical unit? And she says no, ma'am. Then they ask, when you say he was on the medical unit, are there cells on the medical unit? She said, yeah, he was placed in a cell on the medical unit. And she says, when you got back that evening, did you look back over his vitals for the day to see how they had trended? And she says, I don't remember. And she said, what was he like when you saw him that evening? She says, when I first saw him, he was standing in the window of the cell, and he motioned like he wanted me to come over, and said, can I go back? And she said, can I go back to my cell? And he said, and I didn't know what. Oh, sorry. What had happened? Let's see. To him, because I had been out pretty much the entire evening. So he told me he was sick. He was standing there. He looked pale and tells me, I'm just too sick. Sorry, guys. See, and then I got him, I had an officer in the medical unit, C.O. McCoy, to get him out and remember to specifically reflect what I saw, and his vital signs were and what I did. And she says, well, we'll get to that in a moment or whatever. But see, this is the type of shit that they do. They just neglect, everybody. The people that's in there, they don't give a shit. My glasses are all nastied up now. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up in the comments, guys. Give me just a second. Okay, let's see. Uh-oh. My earbuds are dying. Alright, can y'all hear me? Okay, she was asking him, she goes to ask her, did you see him at any point during his stay when he came in on the 30th of December? And was there until you sent him out on to the hospital. She says, I may have seen him in detox. If I did, there would be the reports stating that I did. But she says, I don't remember from what I recall. Okay, and it says here, it's just that to go back to look through the records or whatever. It says, looks like you seen him on the 3rd. You've got that chart, and we have found it difficult to look at the work from this printout version compared to what they have seen from other medical places, from other facilities. And she says, I'm sure. And she says, let's see. Okay, it says, can you tell me what his assessments was on the 30th? And she says, let me ask if we're looking at the right documents or whatever. And she was checking the dates. And it says, I would say that, I mean, it's 142, but I saw, she said that she saw him and would have dated it, let's see, hold on, they then got me confused by how they did worded this one. Are you allowed to see, if the guard, are you allowed to see, someone that's incarcerated without a guard, if a guard's not available? Or, and she says, some days guards weren't available at all to take us to do the detox assessments. So, and when they're not available, we can't be on the floor without one of them. And she said sometimes she would spend 3 to 5 hours on the detox floors, just doing doing assessments and vitals and giving out meds. Okay, she says they're looking through the medical records or whatever, and she says that what we found is that there's discovered through the course of these dispositions is on the forms chart, it is often missing the blood pressure. So if you look at your page on page 38, it'll say it's blank for sitting for standing, and blank for sitting and blank for standing. So what would you have to do? What would have to really be checked to determine that you see that you've done the person's vitals or whatever? And she says, took his blood pressure. So if you took his blood pressure, there's 2 entries. It says 142, and there's one saying it's 128/80. And then it says sitting blood pressure is 100/74. Do you think that's just maybe a flaw in a system, or recording both of those, sitting and opposed to standing. And she said, I would think, yeah, if it correlates with, and it does correlate with my notes, that one at 28/80 would be my guess, that that would be a sitting blood pressure, and the 100/70 again is my guess that it would be a standing. Do you think you put it in the system? Uh, you differentiated between the sitting and standing. And she said, I don't know that answer. I'm assuming that I would. And she says, is it common practice to do full vitals? Is that, or it is common practice? And she says, I tried to. Occasionally, things happened. And she said, yeah. She says, would you put a note in a chart saying, if you weren't able to do their vitals or whatever? And she says, I can't say that I always did, but I always tried to. Um, okay, so she told her, so on this day you did 2 sets of vitals signs at 1:42 p.m. And she says, yeah. And she said, and you got his height and his temperature and his O2. And she said his blood pressure, pulse, temperature, and weight. And she, the attorney asked, so you made your best effort as far as you're concerned to try to do the full assessment. Is that correct? And she said, yes, ma'am. Can you explain what the assessments is? What all it requires or whatever. And she said, opiate assessment withdrawal done for anyone who comes into who is positive for opiates, or alcohol, or in their system, that even if it's said that they are only occasionally used or whatever. I've ever done it, or just here tonight, and I've never drank before. She's just giving a roundabout what the person would tell them whenever they're doing the intake or whatever. And doing these assessments, did you do them on the unit, or did you do them in the medical unit? And she said that they did not come to the medical unit for these. That sometimes they would be done in the pods themselves or in the Sally port, just depending on the correctional officer and how fast they was being rushed to do them. Okay, it just says, did you go cell to cell? And she says, yeah. Okay, she asks here, says, what was he like when you first saw him that evening? She said, when I first saw him that evening. Okay, wait a minute, no, that's the one I just read to you, sorry. I didn't got myself all confused on that one. Okay, here they ask, is there and there was a PA in the building that day, correct? And she said yes. She says, how many PAs was there that day? She says, when I first came in, there was when I first went to the jail, there was one male PA and there was a female PA. I believe Allison was her name, Charleston. Okay. You saw him on. Okay, on the first, it was probably in the early afternoon, you think, because it says 1:42, and she said, I can't begin to guess. I won't attempt to give you an answer. And at 1:42 is reflected to the time that it says. She says, yes, ma'am. Would you put that in after you finished your assessment? She said, yes. And it says, so there's a note taken on the 6th. It says at 7:38 p.m. It says RN Roxana called Dr. Rashad. So this is, do you recall what was going on this day? And she says, on this day is the day that he got sent to the hospital. And she said, on this day I was tasked to do a detox check, and I was in the Sally port of that section performing the detox checks. The routine was to call the patients' names, and they would usually, the COs would usually call their names, and that they would, come up to her or whatever. And it says, in particular, I'm trying to just get to his. Um, so I recall someone, I do not know who, telling me that someone was very sick and needed to be seen. But that person either didn't come out when I called their name, or were past there. And it says, I don't know why they didn't come. I don't remember. She said, I do remember someone telling me that somebody's sick and he needs to come. And he was brought out to see me. He sort of shuffled his way to me and very slowly, head down, and he said, man, I'm just sick. And she said, so I checked him, and whatever I had documented in my notes, that's when I sent him to Dr. Rashad. I wanted to take him to medical, but the officer told me we were not going to stop doing the detox checks to take him to medical. And it said, he was to be seen, and I said, he is to be seen by medical. I did insist that he be seen, and I said, if we can't take him, then get somebody to take him. So he radioed for someone to come and take him up to the medical part of the facility. Hey, actions. Yeah, it's all over the place. Like, the way they're questioning everything is crazy. Oh, thank you, Brandon. And she said, that they let's see. Okay, so they radioed for someone to come take him to medical or whatever, and she said he had to be seen medical. I insisted somebody take him, and she said, I don't know who the officer was that was with me that day, but the fellow ends up in the hospital. He's very sick. Ultimately, he ended up passing away. But, I have an interest in what happened, and that I can recall parts of what took place at that time. She says, I don't remember who the was, but I do know that this patient sat down in the floor of the Sally Port, and he sat in the floor with his knees against with his knees up like against the concrete wall, and just waited. I don't even remember if I was there whenever they took him when another officer arrived to take him to the medical. But that was what initiated him going to medical pod to be seen. And I knew Dr. Rashad was there that day, and so I wanted him to go see Dr. Rashad. And you said that was in the morning, correct? She said it was in the morning. That was sometime before lunch. She says, she said that she thinks that it was probably around 10 o'clock whenever she had told him that he needed to go up to medical. Oh. Sorry, guys. One of my glasses, I can't see. Blind as it is. um, she says, I don't know why I can't say definitely, but for me, I'm thinking it was more around 10 a.m. for some reason that, it's just stuck in my head. I do have a reason why that's there. I don't, think it was something intentional or I don't know. She's done got me confused about. Oh, talk about my time wastes. I do believe it was 10 something. And so you were surprised when you went back up to the medical part that evening. I guess around 4 or 5. Would you that be about the time that you went back to the medical part of the facility? And she said it should be reflected in my hours of when I returned. Were you surprised to see him still at the jail? Is what the attorney asked her. And she said, somewhat. She says, do you believe that he should have been sent to the hospital? She said, I believe this patient was very sick. I'm a nurse, and there was a physician there, and that was his call, not mine at the time. She said, if you could have made the call, would you have sent him out to the hospital that morning? She says, yes. And she says, when you saw him that morning, I know that you're out on the floor and you're trying to get through all of the intakes and doing all the assessments with others, but did you notice any discoloration on any part of his body? She says, I did it that morning. And she says, let's make sure. And she put, I didn't that morning, no, there was no discoloration. And she said, he appeared pale to me, but again, many of them do. She says, when they're having medical withdrawal symptoms or whatever. She says, did you raise his shirt up and look at him at all? And she says, I do not recall. And she says, and that's not something that you typically do. She says, I don't think I would, because I don't think the officer would have liked that. And then she says, that's what I'm going to ask next. That's something that you can tell me typically during your assessments, correct? And she says, it's something that you would typically do during their first intake process, not something that you would do during every assessment or whatever. And, excuse me. But she says, and then they ask her if that's something that that you would take them to the medical unit to do the evaluation. Then, is that correct? She's not necessarily the example you're giving, and you tell me you have a sore or something. She says, then I would if you tell her she has a sore, that you have a sore somewhere, then she would ask you to slip your shirt up or whatever to look. Okay, and she says, okay, she says, so you, on this morning, you did not examine him physically? Not that I'm aware of, I don't think I did. And she said, okay, so you sent him to the medical unit and then had finished your rounds, and she said, yes. And then that evening, did he look worse than that morning when you had seen him? And she said, yeah. Can you tell me the changes that you noticed? And she said, what I noticed, she says, I noticed specifically that he was and obviously he was sweating profusely. Did you look at his, look or pull up his shirt to look at him at this point? She said, I assessed him in the medical examining room, and that is when I saw that he had bruising over his left ribs, and then I listened to his lungs. I did more than what I would have done during the assessment points down on the floor, and in fact that his oxygen was very low. I think in here, I even mentioned one time something about his knees, and she said, but it's when I noticed discoloration in someone, it's from my years of nursing experience. It's their fingertips would be blue and little or more excessive to, but not uncommon for me to, as a nurse, to look at his legs or other parts of his body. She says I don't remember looking at his feet, so he probably had on the his shower shoes or whatever. Um, but I looked. She says, but she said I don't remember looking at his feet, but I looked at his knees, and he had like a knotting of his in his and molting at his knees. Can you explain what a molting is? And she says it's a blue discoloration, and it's not solid, but it's not solid blue. It's a splotchy looking, and more of a bluish purple. If you looked at it, you'd saw and saw your lips were blue. I'd say blue, but they might not be exactly blue or whatever. But that's a term that is generally used whenever they're explaining their discoloration in their skin or whatever. Sorry guys, I then got lost in the comments. Forgot to look at them. My bad, guys. Um, let's see. Mm, and she says that usually the discoloration comes from lack of having oxygenation into your body or whatever, and the meaning that your cells aren't getting good oxygen. Okay, and then she says so. Now, and so you that evening you called the doctor. Did you have to call a doctor in order to get him sent out? She says yes, ma'am. Were you able to talk to Dr. Rashad? And she said yes. What did he rely? What did you rely to him or relay to him or whatever? She says the assessment, which excuse me, is in my notes. And she says and I specifically felt like that he needed to go to the hospital. Is what she told the doctor. And she asked if she looked at the reports to see if Dr. Rashad had seen him that morning and observing or had observed him that morning. She says that she don't remember. And okay, she says that she said that she doesn't recall him having anything in the computer or anything or notes saying that he had seen him. Okay, it says okay, so he told her to do doing vitals more frequently or something or something of that sort, and she would have to put them into the computer. Um, if he okay, that's just talking about giving meds. Mm. And this is just talking about the doctor how he always done handwritten notes and said in his disposition that he didn't know how to access the reports or whatever. But then in the end, they found out that he did know how to access these reports. Um, she said, so the nurse that signed off on the chart, who is going to probably be the same person who distributed the medication, signed off on the chart at 1:36. And she says, I would say the same person who distributed the medications. I rarely, if ever, saw Brandy Estridge or whoever that is with Dr. Rashad. Okay, she's saying here that I guess she's talking about the doctor's disposition, saying that he had seen him at 1:36, or at least Mitchell had at 1:36, which is a LM, and that correlates with the medication he received. So if you look at the medication list on page 63, which I have all that some in there put up, it says he received Pepto-Bismol, Motrin, and that medication again was at 5:11. Do you see that there? And she says, yeah. Would that be before you saw him again? She said, I don't think I saw him until just a little after that. She said, I think it was 5 o'clock. At approximately 5:50, Officer McCoy removed the patient from the M3 and brought him to the examining room where I evaluated him. The reason he brought him to the exam room for me to evaluate was because he had waited for me to and asked if he could go back to his cell. She says, "Do you recall?" Wait a minute, hold on. Now, if we go back to the vital signs that was on page 144, and so you did the vital signs that morning, correct? She said, yeah. Do you recall what those vitals were that morning? She said, I don't recall what they were, but you did have me to look at them earlier, and I was looking over them. And she says, they asked if she took them again. She says, I did take them. I gave that to him. So I was looking over what my vital signs would have been that morning, and if you took them. And she said, yes, I did take them, and I sent them in on the notes with him to the medical facility, part of the jail or whatever. And but that doesn't reflect in her notes or whatever. Hold on, guys. All right, sorry. Let's just talk about stupid doctor. Oh, I was saying that saying here, we know that at least there was only at least one set of full set of vitals taken on him on the second. Because see, they only took his vitals twice the whole time that he was there at the facility, and they was both times done by Roxanne. The other nurses didn't do his vitals. And she says that she's asking his blood pressure if she sees on the reports where the blood pressure was 128/82, and the pulse sitting was 113, and the next entry says UTO, and what does that mean? Unable to obtain. is what it means, and that was done on the 2nd. It was unable to obtain his blood pressure and stuff on and that could have been because the COs was rushing them to get their stuff done. No, the only thing he was given for detox cyst was Pepto-Bismol and Motrin. Yeah, Brandon. Whenever the first time I read it, I had to like reread it to make sure that's what I was reading. Diablo, stop. Hold on, make him be quiet. She said, so it looks like there was 2 sets of vitals signs. I'm going to assume standing, one sitting, one standing. The third would be probably a patient. I'll probably ask the patient questions because of his the detox situation or whatever. That's just talking about if they're eating or whatever whenever they're doing detox, if they still continue their medicines. She said, do you have a chair that you take with you to have them sit on whenever you're doing their vitals, where they can do one sitting, do one standing? She said, the officer gets a chair if available. And then sometimes you don't have one available. Is that correct? And she said yes. And now we see he has this low blood pressure, sitting and standing, and high pulse at 656 on the 3rd. And then we only get a partial of the blood pressure at 10:51 p.m. on the 3rd. And then, do you see any vitals for the 4th? And she said no. What about the 5th? No. Okay. So he had his heart rate was accelerated when you saw him, and at least that's what we know from the notes that were recorded. And she says okay. And then here she says, it looks like on the first blood pressure that is recorded is 140/94, and the pulse was 132, and that's at 6:46. Do you see that? And she said, yeah. Let's see. And that was at 146 on the 6th. Again, here I'm assuming it's going to be because of the close within the same time frame or whatever. She said that she saw him at 9:30 or 9:35, but don't say what day here. And it says but and then she says, and we know that you at least thought that he had that he had a high heart rate, and is that correct? She says that is his heart rate was about elevated, so I would say that it was this was at 132 coupled with it again, and he just didn't look well. For some reason he didn't look well, and this is a very quick look at you kind of assessment, because they only have a certain amount of time to do their to see each person there, and that takes hours to get through all of them usually. And here, the attorney says, well, you was 100% right on the way that you treated him that day, in that situation. If we look at Dr. Rassad's notes, it says that he saw him at 10:30. Shut up. 10:30 a.m., but there's no notes to prove that he had saw him that day. Hold on. Let's see. So it says that he would have saw him at least an hour after he had been sent up there, and his temperature, his blood pressure was 140/94, and his heart rate was 132. Then his temperature was 97. That's the same exact vitals as before. So it's saying that the doctor didn't see him. He just looked at some of his prior, his first set of vitals, and put those down in his notes. Um, vital 460. Interpret the chart. Okay, that's just bullshit. Okay, there's a set of vitals at 5:25 p.m. and this is whenever she had came back onto the unit. Apparently, his sitting was at 120/88. The pulse was 188. Then the same time, it has blood pressure at 114. So we assume that the first was probably a standing and the other was at a sitting. So it's 114/84, and the pulse rate 65. And she said, and this would be at 5:25 p.m. She said, I would say around 5:25 is whenever I came back on the unit and had first saw him, when I first laid eyes on him again, and asked Mr. Officer McCoy to bring him to me. And she says, she says, with dissecting the chart, this chart, his heart rate would have been 188 when he walked from the cell to the examination room. And she says, so you think that the morning vitals, that is the morning vitals that you took? She says, no, that would have stated that it was evening vitals. And then it says, this is when you saw him that evening. She says, probably when I saw him, because that's going to be my guess. But it might have been the morning. And see, their notes are, they don't even, their reports are so bumfuzzled. It's like a puzzle trying to read them and put them all together. Hold on a second, I just lost my place here. Hold on. She says because it's some is so this is when you see him that evening or whatever, and it's just probably when I saw him, because going by my guess it might be the evening, or we better just not say or whatever is what the nurse said. And she said, because I don't know, I don't have any way to prove that, so I can't state for sure that that's when it was done. But yes, his heart rate was 188, so it was either, my looking at these both together, I'm going to say this gentleman was up and walking. This person had a moment to level out a little bit, and it's just because that's when they're at the same time. And she says, were you the person who called EMS? Were you the person that EMS talked to when they arrived? And she said yes. And is that how it generally works, is when the EMS is called, a member of the medical staff provides the medical history or whatever? She said yes. And she says, and these and on these vitals, the reason that I had you go through them was the different times that Dr. Rashad testified that he would have instructed that then do the vitals every 15 to 30 minutes, and they were not being done. And were they on the 6th? She said no, because if they had been, it would have been noted. according to their record, the vital signs were not done. Is what she told him. So from the time that she done them that morning, they hadn't been done again until that evening, whenever she came back on the medical floor. And it says, and you said you would have talked to EMS whenever they arrived and given the medical history. And the EMS records are there. And she says they're going to be at okay, they asked whether they was interrupted by the court reporter here when she was talking. But so there's notes there that talks about he's in distress and he's the patient became short of breath. This is on page 4. It looks like he was complaining of shortness of breath when you saw him that afternoon at 5:20. And she said, look at my notes. I asked him to take a deep breath, and he said he couldn't because his ribs hurt. And then in this EMS note on page 4, it says that the heart rate and the AM and the heart rate that you see is at it's in God, I can't even read what she's saying here. Hold on. And then the EMS notes, page 4, says that the heart rate, AM patient had heart rate blank blank, and it just says the blank blank dots or whatever. And she's seen that, and she's okay. So there you go. It was probably the AM notes that was that they was going by earlier or whatever. It says on my vital signs I should have an AM and a PM with my vitals. And she said I use a multicolored pen to do, like, morning, evening, and then she has ones that she'll use, like, if they need to be seen right then or whatever, she'll put it in red. Or if it's of importance that they need to talk to the doctor or whatever. And they said, so was he prescribed medicine that came from you or from the doctor? And that question I don't think was never answered. All the cases here that it says I don't remember, but I was working, and we had a task was to call each day and check with the patient at the hospital or whatever. To get the medical update, and then for some reason something had happened. His care was transferred from not care to transferred, I guess, from our facility from Southern Regional to maybe somebody else. And then this why do they have hers? Hold on a minute now. They've messed this up, I think. Oh, okay. It says, sorry, I didn't turn the page over. That's why it looked funny to me. I'm losing my mind, guys. No, Brandon, it's crazy. I'm gonna make it to where I can show more of this on the screen too, whenever I finally get everything situated. Okay, then, okay, here's where the attorney asked, what EMS facility, transporters for the hospital, showed up or whatever, and she said it was Jan Care, and, that she presented them with the information, and she said, I believe Lily would have, Sergeant Lily would have, spoke with them. And they asked if it was a female or a male. They said it was a male. And is he employed with the Department of Corrections? She said, yeah. And it says, do you have to have a guard or officer with you when you're talking to EMS workers? Not that I'm aware of. A guard with me not that I'm aware of. A guard with me at any time that I'm with someone that's incarcerated, you're not alone with them. Like talking about the people who's incarcerated or whatever. I never left his side until he was on the stretcher and heading out the door with EMS. Um, so when I was with the patient, an officer would be present. And how much of the chart are you able to give the EMS when they arrive at the jail? Are you allowed to give them a printout or whatever? She says they get a cover sheet, I think, and that's it. Do you know what's on the cover sheet? She said I couldn't exactly say, but it would just be his demographic of the kind of things that's going on with him or whatever. Okay, she was asking about when she was with him that evening. Was the molting getting worse when you was with him? She said, I do believe, as the note indicates that the molting had improved somewhat, and I did some adjustments with his oxygen, and then it began to here. Says I don't recall this. It's this. Just this is the from reading my notes. She says, cyanosis of the neck and hands remains though slightly less, and that was at 1800 hours. So with that, I'm reading quickly, but she says cyanosis of the neck and hands was less. So yeah, the discoloration was less or whatever in his neck and his hands. Did you give him any other medications other than I know you gave him oxygen? She said no. Did you provide any other medications or just waited for EMS? She says, not that I recall of. Not that I see here. And she says, okay, and we went through the vital signs, and the reasons we went through them was signs that go through the assessments every day. And he had a assessment in, assessment is because the vital signs are part of the assessment. Is that correct? She said, yeah. You see, the way this shit is worded is like it's, oh, I don't know, they don't know how to talk or something. And the attorney asked, do you agree with me that it is crucial that people who are locked up have those assessments done 3 times a day? And she says, okay, then the prime care's attorney objected or whatever. And the witness says, my answer was going to be 3 times a day, maybe a little excessive, but twice a day I think is very important. And they said, okay, can you agree with me that the deviation from the standard of care and for no vitals to have been done for 2 consecutive days in a row, wait a minute, would you agree that it's a deviation from the standard care that no vitals were done for 2 days in a row? And she said yes. And as you sit here today, do you believe that he should have been sent to an emergency room the morning that you sent him to the medical unit? She said, I believe that as a nurse, I sent to someone because I knew that person was there in the facility to make the decision based on their assessment. And if you could have made that call on your own that day, would you have sent him out that morning? She said yes. And she's the attorney says, I don't think I have anything else or whatever. And she says, what did you do to prepare for the disposition day? She says, the only thing that she done was requested. I requested from her office was to see the notes and that I had made or in dealing with Charles. And she said, and it's elaborating maybe more than I should say, but I want you to know that setting, I want you to know that setting it took place in there were in an examining room, and I have all of the assessments entered for that day, but also have a patient who needs my attention. So while I was repeatedly getting up and checking on him, going out to call the doctor, doing these things, I'm also putting in other people's assessments for the day. And she says, I am literally in a room um, smaller than I guess from here to the wall or whatever wherever they was, and a little shorter than that. She said I had a notepad where I was constantly writing down what I was getting, what I was getting on that. Once he was gone, I was just ready to get out of there. But I had that, and I had a little box that I kept in our locked medical supply room that I kept my forms and things in, and a cart that I had my stuff on. But I put that in there, and that's when that stayed until I came back the next day was able to do that. So she had her forms, the medical, the other inmates or people's assessments for that day. She didn't finish. She put them in her own little area so that she could be doing for the next day. She said, "I don't. Uh, when did you learn he passed?" She says, "If you remember or whatever." She says, "I don't remember, but I was working, and we had a task to call the hospital every day to check on the patient who was in the hospital and to get their medical update. Then for some reason something happened, and his care transfer was from care, not care, to transferred, but transferred, or his care transferred from not care." And she's, I guess, from our facility to from Southern Regional maybe to somebody else. Didn't require guards or anything at that time. So that must have been on the 23rd, because that's when they discontinued all the guards and stuff from his bedside. And she says, I don't know what happened, but anyway, eventually somebody told me at work that, but basically details of what of that I don't know. Remember, I just knew that he had passed, and I would say that it was sometime in January, in that January period. And she says, did the death of this inmate factor into your decision to quit?" And she said, because she had quit working for this facility, she says, "Yes, I don't." And then she says, "Okay," and that's whenever they had closed out the disposition for her. The witness says, "I think you can read your disposition if you want. And if you have made any mistakes, you can change them or whatever." And she says, "I think it's fine. Anything I didn't quite get or felt uncertain about or thought I misspoke, I think I told you or whatever." Let's see. What do they have here? Oh, that's just more of the court reporter made her mistakes or whatever. But yeah, see, I mean, this is just, you know, this nurse here, Roxana, she actually, done more than any of the other medical staff that are done. From the other dispositions that I read, a lot of them, the answers that they give is, I don't know. I don't know. And how do you not know? You work there. Yeah, I mean, they'll hand out, whatever to anybody, but let it be someone that's locked up, and you have to buy your own, Tylenol and stuff off of commissary, because if you get it given to you from medical, an ibuprofen, and here is $8. if you're locked up. They charge you $8 for an ibuprofen, but from the medical side. Well, guys, I'm gonna close it off from there, and the next video I'm gonna be more prepared for that, because I'm gonna highlight it better the next time. I used a stupid marker and it made my papers bleed and everything else. But the next one we'll go over the doctors. His is crazy. He gets mad and starts cussing and everything at the attorneys because they're catching him in so many lies. And I want to pull out the one from the Chicago medical professional that we had to go over his medical records and everything, because he done a good medical report on Charles, on his on what his opinion would be, had he got treatment and received treatment before he was sent out on the 6th. Had he got it on the the day that he came in, or even on the 4th, even, that he would still yet be here. But if anybody has any questions or whatever, or they want me to, that they want me to answer, or if I can answer, just put them in one of the community posts, and I'll do them during the next video. I think the next video I'm going to try to have somebody up, and we'll just discuss some of the stuff that's going on. Like, we had that little 19-year-old female that passed away here Thursday of last week that was incarcerated at the regional jail. And it's just getting ridiculous. But I appreciate everybody that came and hung out. And does anybody have anything they want to ask or anything before we jump off of here? Tell him I love him, sis. And I'm going to send his card back out tomorrow. I don't know why. It didn't say why it was sent back. It just said return. Oh, okay, sis, I will. Yeah, and I got to get up with you too, about getting that done for Charles, and I need to talk to you about that other thing that me and you was talking about doing. But, I've, been talking to some people, and, might be able to get some of it already started here pretty soon. But, I'll talk to you tomorrow about it. But I'm going to go for tonight. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Thanks, Glammy sis, I love you. No, I suck at reading, girl. I get nervous. And I stutter, to get it out. I'm sure y'all hear my fur baby back here crying like he's neglected. You too, Angie, sis. I love y'all. I will talk to y'all next week. And sis, do you want to come up on a live with me next week and talk about what's going on with Jacob and the things that you know about that's going on, where he's at and the stuff that he's been through? Diablo, hush, son. Alright, guys, I'm gonna cut it from here. This one I might privatize until I can go in and edit it a little bit, because I think for like the first minute and a half, I don't think I'm talking to anybody. Alright, sis, that sounds good. I love y'all. Tell him I said keep his head up. He's got people out here rooting for him, and there's people still going and signing that petition and stuff for him too that I've talked to, and that he's gonna get out. That we're gonna get him out there. This year is gonna be his year. I love y'all, and I will talk to y'all probably next Saturday. I love y'all too. Night. Everybody have a good one.